We are live. Hello, everyone. I am Richard Millett, the one and only. And this is, of course, Quarantine Stream, I believe the 25th one. And now we shall hear the beautiful, ever-loving, evergreen Quarantine Stream theme, shall we? Lovely. All right. Let's do it. I will say at the outset, there have been lots of issues today with the interwebs. So hopefully this goes out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But hopefully it will. So like I said, we have had many issues today. So, and the company that I use hasn't gotten back to me at all. So, my expectations are rock bottom. All right. Any second now, we can start. Isn't it great? Okay. It's called Flowers at the Foot of the Cave. Swinging light bulb above a cracked basement window, a painting depicting the creation of creation, and a makeshift bed. I made up a new name for you that I'll only keep in my head. My head. Look at the jewel resting in the bottom of the wooden cup, or the stack of handwritten sheets explaining the steps of the ritual in rich, deep red. And the names of everyone there exist in my head. My head. Charcoal renderings of saints ripped from a magazine and pinned to the door. Dented bits of metal shaped to make a mosaic and pushed into the floor. Quarter-inch thick, spray-painted silver ribbons looped like ringlets in the air, and the floating stray white veins from a feather landing on your hair. Here I sit, half childish, with freshly washed clothes strewn over the chair. A tray with orange peels, melon rinds, and empty glasses rests balanced on the table's edge, while I'm reading a map leading to a room more colorful than the womb, where I can overhear things other than gurgling and organs rushing. But still, this will always be in its infancy, because love is where Genesis greets infinity. And for proof, you can look in my eyes, even though I won't confirm or deny how much of this is true. But I trust that will get worked out by you. All right, we're still good. Beautiful. It's tricky business tonight. I should have figured out a way to fill space in between the pieces. If only I were more slick instead of not slick at all. All right. Still connected. All right. This is called Allison, where the blue sea and icebergs are. She's ice cream, and there she's down the hall. She uses words like everything and all. I can hear her, but I can't make out her features. I know she spends her weekends in a cement cinema making notes. The girl next to her tries to see what she wrote. Allison wonders why the guy in the elevator keeps glancing at her and why the weather keeps jumping between rain and sun every 30 minutes. She keeps saying, "Quit asking me questions. I'm the one that's innocent," as people assume she's joking. Allison wonders, what are the windows thinking on a day where there's a white line down the center of the sky? Her mind cuts back to the guy on the elevator with, "Quick, look at me. Look at you. We're equals." Allison wonders if she can keep hiding while knowing that they're following me. Allison writes, what started as hopes are now observations, mostly about nature, and being young stops being fascinating once it's done. Allison looks at her bowl of spinach, and her eyes focus down on the details of one leaf, and she quietly speaks. An atheist sees this and can only think of the mud it grows from. Allison writes, we extend grace out of our own sense of grace, and smiles because she's not sure if that's something of her own or something she's half remembering from 2 or 3 incarnations ago. Allison considers why her back and hands are so slippery when she's invisible, then tells her sister, my tongue is a graffiti sponge. I wonder if I'll have to make love in front of a judge. Allison considers that she's a character who looks and acts exactly like her, then draws a bath with the lights off. Allison invites her guests to walk barefoot while cherries and red confetti float out of her phone. Allison considers emptying cash registers if the security cameras lose power, but what she mostly wants are completely natural segues with no artificial blends. So with that, make thoughts your aim or nerve-blaming when all meet with you at your beginnings, but make allowances for their worn-out tools and make dreams a trap for fools after they are gone. Okay, we're still connected. Amazing. All right. This is written many years ago, but I still like it quite a lot. It's called Conspiracy of Silence. We walk by each other on the street. You do not speak. I can see you have no ambition. You can see I have no standards. I don't speak. We're equals. We are parallel. I've seen you in the water. You've seen me dream. You never eat. I never sleep. Trim your head, bend your neck. Tiny flowers pressed against your chest. We walk by each other on the street, never met, but there's still a blink of recognition. We enter the plane. We're flying over England, viewing from behind the wings, seeing St. George's Cross spread over the aisles down to the carriage of the Queen. It's a conspiracy. 35mm slow-motion shot of Bernini's St. Longinus. Who wrapped it round and hung the wires that then laid at the feet of the Empire? Ever picked up that phone call? Ever read the books in the basement? We walk by each other on the street. We don't know each other. We do not speak. I roll my eyes, and you repeat the conversation from a passing taxi. And it's a conspiracy? Your family had donated a house to the National Trust. Are those your cards on the nightstand? Is that your glass of wine? Would you like some privacy? Blue, green. Communism is red herring. We are water etching lines and rocks, running diagonal patterns on the face of the clock, blurring the note on the windscreen, a pristine, steady stream, or drops from the sky echoing down to your mouth. And you need to ask, wondering like your feet are on fire, and these are your first steps into the bath, a murmur, a moan. You need to ask, ever read the unwritten sentence? Did you walk around Oxford, feel the fog touch your hair, curled in the everlasting afternoon? All my dreams, all my dreams. All my dreams are in blue and green. The herring was red. I sleep on a purple bed with fresh white sheets. And it's a conspiracy with a wink of complicity. I can slip right in an inside improvisation. No, a pantomime playing at the Museum of the Mind. It's easy, it's instant, it's open if you want it, and I want in. Does it diverge from memory? It's a conspiracy. Did the blue dog climb your stairs? What kind of candy was it? And when did you take it? Was it dark chocolate-covered cherries? Like the lilting willow, we walk from window to window. We don't know each other. The tempered glass is salt water in our hands. I think I need to give thanks. I think I see the lantern you're holding out of the ground and more like the weeping wall curled into a ball and newly resolved. It damn sure ain't a pantomime. It's a mystery. A conspiracy? Ever swing on the gutter like a vine? Ever fly over the jungle in a silver plane and see it wet with rain? Did you ever sing that song the lyricist couldn't find the words for but had a flowing melody? More uplifting than Nearer My God to Thee, no crying tonight. And you think it's a conspiracy? We walk by each other on the street. You've seen me, I don't know you, we don't speak. There's an open hand above your head, but it's an optical illusion. From the clouds without sound, it's your secret to keep. It's a conspiracy. Was that you on the balcony? What did he say? The painting, there, did you find it confusing? Think it lacks meaning? But look right to left, not center down. It's all one scene. Do you see it now? It is a conspiracy. And hey, Gregory, we got ways of getting people to talk too. But who can be bothered to listen when you can bite your lip and tap your fingernails on the scissors? Who wants to listen when they ain't? You know, it's a conspiracy. You heard me and made me admit your moment, your Pyrrhic victory. Can I have this dance? We walk by each other on the street. We see each other. We don't speak. Your fingernails are blue. Your lipstick is green. The leather on your boots is frayed at the seams. I know that in your dreams, you're still 15 with a stolen cigarette you nicked from the vending machine. The lung branches are soaked and your bubble perm is fast falling. And wouldn't it be funny if your interior life from now on is just this moment endlessly repeating? Same photograph on the wall, mistaken for a mirror. And you can identify, you can empathize, but you can't know what on earth. We see each other on the street. Duke Ellington, East St. Louis plays the theme, Cast Iron Boat. Sterling Silver Symphony. We don't know each other. You start to speak, but it's drowned out by the man with the loudspeaker in the papers, proselytizing his religious beliefs. It's like we're curators, caretakers, something we never saw, never knew, but understand purely on instinct and instant assimilation, empathy, ecstasy, impressions of the senses. We are the examples. It is ours to not let the charted land that gives us food to eat and water to drink, a place to walk and live and vanish in clouds, or become a stranger that we're only hearing clashing tongues and react with a stance that turns wretched, frozen, and cavalier. We will reach and remain unlabeled, walk free in the community, fly over and under unanimity. We are the examples. We trace the dim signal. We will remain enthralled and observe the entrance and relics and rituals without. And then he used to kiss her often on her. When you talk to the clouds, can you? When you talk to yourself, father's father, mother, 7 flowers on 7 stars on the chest of the creator, we realize what is within and outside of us, what's invisible to the eye and eludes our touch. We understand the light inside the image obscures the image inside the light, the red and blue, blue and green. You never sleep. We see you dream. It's a conspiracy. Someone said to me, you see a chair as it is, but when you burn the chair, you see that the chair in your head did not burn or disappear. I see you on the street. You walk forward and ask me about the play I'm staging or a film you're making, but you know definitely it has 7 scenes. I wouldn't know about that. I'm not into numerology. Surely you're joking. Is it improvised or have you been rehearsing? Are all your actors established? Well, we're not anonymous, but it's all true, all done in secret, and we might just not let in an audience. We will walk out of the auditorium in absolute quiet, single file, with a hidden illicit recording to prove that it was in fact a staged event. Motor oil on a block of ice, river of fire where a miracle was denied. She said who would not open her kitchen, but later passed the sentence on the wall, pointed at the words and said, that's not my opinion. Pastor Corbett then asked her, why on earth did you accept the call? Filtered water poured carefully on the top of a block of ice and seeping down the slanted floor slowly toward the recording device from whom no secrets are hid. I'll believe this one thing even if the rest of the list is lies. Until we crystallize. Straight to heaven. Loretta's address scrawled in the back of the book of names, crossed out and replaced with a charcoal drawing from a cave. It's a conspiracy. Just like those articles she never read because the editor said they were written without beginning or end. It's a conspiracy? Of course, they're sitting in a circle of celebration among friends, sharing your favorite passages out of a blank book, closed circle making notations on the pages with a candle wick. The chandelier hangs beautifully, laughter sparkles, and the champagne from the cellar under the cellar is free. Yes, it is a conspiracy. You walked in, I woke up. We were docked outside Oyster Bay on a mutual friend's houseboat. You arranged the table, gave a long look, and said, I'll give you good reason to take away my right to vote. We see each other on the street, eyes looking at the top light intently and drinking coffee that smells like crayons. The guy next to me on his iPhone reads, intimations of infidelity were a red herring. Me and the guy selling streetwise laugh at his timing. Must be a counselor. Or a confidence man, or a trial lawyer playing fast and forgetful with the facts, or a city planner changing his mind with each passing glance. We're walking out of Preston, zipping up your leather jacket when you said you laid nude with your adversary. I asked how it happened. You accepted the invitation, met in the garden, rested your heads on the stone wall that runs the perimeter. Did you pay rapt attention when the nightingale told its fairy tale? Did you ache in the silent seconds of the confession? You see me on the street. I see what's in your hands. Our eyes don't meet. As people walk out of Walgreens, you ask, did you pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you? Do you bless those who curse you? I will tell you this. It's a conspiracy. The morning mass was busy ignoring any message that wasn't theirs. It's a conspiracy. Was that a sneer? We know. She was standing on a corner in South London under a red umbrella on a sunny day, glass necklace and a gold waist chain. Do you have a title? Yeah, but I can't tell you. Why can't you tell me your title? Because it's pre-verbal. Look, can I take what I need? Please. I said to her, she said to me, I'm your sister and you just don't know it. Not a martyr, a seer, not an abandoned spirit. Is this Don Giovanni? It's a conspiracy? I hailed a limousine. We walk by each other on the street. We've never met. I know what kind of fruit you eat. I have no ambition. You're trying to get my attention by throwing a flag at the feet of the gentleman delivering a block of marbled meat with a business card tucked neatly in the wrapping. 7 numbers in blue ink on the lettering. Did you count the columns around the building? 34 in a perfect circle. Ever been to the top floor, skip school one morning, and take the tour? We walk by each other on the street. You're carrying a painting. We won't speak. I don't sleep. You cannot dream. You walk up to the white door and wait for access. You left a book on your desk. The cover was worn and the binding was torn, but you like the questions it asks. Razor cuts. How many songs can you sing in the sun? How long is the transmission? 7 flowers on your chest. It's not for lack of trying. It's a conspiracy. You walked in an oval. You thought over each permutation of the image's meaning. You looked through a stainless steel window and down to the streets, and then you asked me, it's a question of genealogy? We see each other. We do not speak. The question, they looked at you. You looked at me. Yes, it's a conspiracy. All right. Still connected. How wild is that? All right. This is the entire White Apple saga. So, I've explained this before. It was spread out over 2 books. So, this is all of it. The audience glares. The audience is alone, projected onto the cities, moving mouths upside down, silent, cement, struggles for breath, lets the water run, walks with a stilted, failing gait. The water runs in the documentary behind the page. A lesson in taking what you need, wanting to know so bad, so bad, so bad, so thirsty, so eager for the seed. Roman columns, deep shadows, buttressed arches, fallen collective breach, eyes cast upon the outer circles, eyes cast upon the oval rings over the sea, eyes cast on eternity, eyes cast on maternity. Then across the alley, across the street, he could see the cracks in the statue's feet. He crashed his car against a building, against a lamppost, fluttering fingers ivory, dancing around, darting mercury. The survivalist juts forward, head leering off the shoulders, sees the wet walkways glistening, over-enunciates to nobody listening. His face an impression in plaster, refers to a thought he had earlier. But it's too austere to articulate, and he's had too much sugar to hold his hands straight. As the glass carton breaks, he collapses, the cream running parallel over his veins. The audience on stage, the public face encased in a clear plastic capsule with evenly explained rules typed on eggshell card displayed underneath, each remark catalogued and critiqued, each dismal dismissal a prized antique. Washed clean when the day ran dry, the only dot in the satellite sky, the audience needing permission, needing drink, needing oxygen again. The combination hidden in international waters, the shadows shining on the light. Everything in plain sight secret, a camera and its tripod spinning a circular angle, a code transferred, captured, held by an ascending angel. All are welcome, but come open-handed, without guests or family. You'll enter easy or naked, and your intentions won't be mistaken. Jagged rocks under the rushing river, which leads to the lake. The scene is a remake, a 3-point star shape, superimposed with stretching hands, making a cityscape, and cold exhaling, creating hovering clouds. Silent! Take out the sound. I want to hear the rushing. I want to hear the pounding. I want to hear the happening. After the action. The empty air in my ears. I want to hear the flying birds make their calls. Hear the echo reverberate off of ancient stone walls. You become naked, with ivory skin, face like an alabaster wedding ring. Grow and live in a green-tinted glass tower with marble accents. You know the leftover, unhealed scars of the ancients. You can taste the dead Romans in the ground when you eat the cloves of garlic, cold fingers in a clean line of events, little pencil marks leaving a rumor under the map. Lotus position on the floor, side of your head laying in ice water. Fresh sage on the bell, and in your pocket, a jade pendant of a lantern, match earrings and a lone cigarette, a farthing and a sixpence. A plan to go to the States, but not sure what dimes and nickels are worth yet, or where to find Wyoming on a map. But that's a situation at best for the solicitor, or a prayer to the lace maker. You have relics. Word came from the pontiff, an aged tooth now black as onyx. You become naked with ivory skin, face like an alabaster wedding ring, in a penthouse apartment filled with ferns, studying a blue flame or the serrated edge of the ancients who built the park you gaze out at. Boys and girls, climbing a ladder, preparing a crown that they will wear if they choose to, they can share, looking at the Khyber Pass, buying a cart with supplies to last, heat production, carving a chair before the mold hardens, pressing stones into the floor of the garden, removing spikes from the ocean, twin conversations without a sound, ripple effect, the rings spread over the gown, their bodies, the sun and stars barely touching, beginning of the day, reflection eyes every moment, in exchange of an inspired surprise. Boys and girls. My front door, there was a knock. I didn't open up even a tiny crack. I said, "Go away from here and never come back." But that was an illusion. I know a servant in her master's house. She walks around, head tilted up in arousal and awe. She never plans to come out. She's quiet like a nail in the wall. Slides her face down the granite on the fireplace to calm herself after roaming the limestone banquet hall. She is of far greater virtue than those she sold her name to. She never stops speaking in an inaudible hum, turns the ringer off on the phone. She said to me that I could be a great actuary. I said, "Why?" And she replied, "Well, in your soul and out of their cells, you know people can't save themselves." Celeste, plucking out notes, your voice enters, both leaping the octave up. I never need to find you. I see you everywhere I look. We've got to change the subject for a second. The ghosts are gone. There is only life to live. I see you everywhere I look. Every flower petal, every blade of grass is in the detail of your face, your flesh. You sit at the piano and play, simple chords ascending, and as the sustain fades, the tones are slightly bent, but each note you've picked is one of the elements. You're lighting up this room without even realizing it. You write down that I is another. Your electricity. You make me. She asked her, "What do you think of the shower?" She said, "It's beautiful. Warm, warm." Ivory lady. She said she could drink each drop, but she shouldn't say anything's beautiful because she doesn't know you. She's never seen you, not even a picture. It's true. You make me. It'll take me 7 minutes to tell you how sometimes I feel like a vampire. I take your feelings, your moments, feel them deeper than you did, make you think you're insincere. But is that so bad? I don't know. You make me. I run. You've always been free. You're so smart, smarter than I am. Maybe that's what I believe because I've never seen you stop and think. It simply is, forwards, and you can be in reverse. I think your mind is maybe the most beautiful thing, but then your eyes, I rewrite the list all the time. Heaven's choir is harmonizing for you right now. Can you hear them? Can you feel the reverberations gently hold your body? What they're singing was written for you, to please you. Only about 1 in 30,000 could ever understand it. Further words fail me. I just want to watch from my window and think about the falling rain, rest my head and see your grace. I'll be back to you in just a moment. I have to change subject for a second. Today you're wearing green, yesterday blue and white stripes, but what I've seen is just never enough. You're so good, so polite. I don't want you to just be bad. I want you to confuse yourself. I want to see you be a spider for an hour. I want to see you move your fingers backwards. I never want you to be corrupt. You got a man? Your man is standing tall in quicksand. Your man can't go where I go. Your man won't ever know what I know. Your man is in the parking lot, and she says, "I see how you look at me. You think I couldn't notice? I've seen you since you were 7 years old. I was hoping you'd stay up for me. You need to know that I'm close to your soul, and I want and hope for your wishes to come true. You make me, too. The cloud drizzled down today, only followed by the most incredible vacuum of quiet, a right shock of silence, and up from that, after about a paused minute, was the first truly joyful noise we've heard in a long while. To us alive on earth, a celeste plucking out notes. Warm, warm, let's kiss. You make me. Let's see how we're doing out there. Hey, we're still hanging in there. Amazing. I thought for sure we would have crapped out by now. Okay. This was I've read this a couple times before. Um but I tend not to do it because it's hard to read. And I try to save it for special occasions. So, and that is what today is. It's a special occasion. So I hope that you enjoy it. This is called Songs Without Music. Saul, standing outside of the Burger King, watching you at age 5, sleeping on your floor. Your parents dismayed because you wouldn't get up and play and run around. Instead of the beginning, when you were an infant screaming. I remember you repeating yourself at age 7, watching Jacob play video games, watching your grandfather import coffee and bananas, watching your cousin spit raw, churned turd snuff into the Royal Crown cola cans, with tiny flecks of carrot stuck between his teeth, whistling a song all but forgotten, filing porn under his jacket at the tackle and bait shop. The slight sigh of your mother as her stomach was pressed upon, the leaves on the trees pointing, "You are wrong." So I coughed and I took some books from Jacob and took Meredith's old records with a giant eraser and got rid of Peter and Paul straight off the cover. Mother Mary all alone with no route home and with a husband who doesn't vote but made his voice count stealing election signs from his neighbors' lawns. The long ago retired janitor of Constancy, the surgeon's custodian. There should have been a passing lane, an oasis for souls who are drained with drained desires and where disconnected relations can sit at empty tables and wait for service. You stared at the chickens needing feed. Joan ignored his chores, and you refused to converse with the mailman, interlocking circles of uninspired activity, the robotic enjoyment, the scent of the mold wafting across the staircase as you called it a quarter. It was in fact a hubcap, a clean confession, lying shining on the unpaved. I could say it turned to crystal. Jacob naturally would, but you would only laugh. Rannon and Boaz would, when you would pose for a picture. Don't remember to smile. Pax, Hyman. Saul. Sometimes when I write to you, I'm not sure how much it's safe to say. I wish I could explain why I need you to understand. The time from which I came, and I know that you don't relate. In my setting the stage like an alligator migraine, while I waited with the California girl for George to finally answer his phone with a snide, meaningless rhyme of a line. The rest is just depressing, about how the girl in her mother's house in Riverside wanted to commit suicide, and I wanted a detailed confessional, all on film first. As you can see, there's nothing for you here to read. Pax, Hyman. Saul. So far, this has been a pretty one-sided conversation, and for that I apologize. Morning sun will come, your time to talk, and sweep the sand off the tiled floor whilst the rush-hour train runs overhead, and you pause to reflect on its scheduled splendor. No matter how long the giraffe's neck is, no matter how many feathers flock together on the guest list, no matter how articulate I am, what I can't ever convey to you is that you haven't experienced the patterns yet, and what comes next after context evaporates and leaves an ashy white film on your arms, elbows, and chin. What you do the day after your alert-eyed, shaking-shoulder sincerity turns to memories you can't properly recall, not because they've been disproved or jettisoned, not because you've forgotten the power of them, but out of overuse and inability to transfer the arrival time at the next station. And I say this not to damn your chances, nor discourage your efforts. And I wish my thoughts on this could swim like silverfish on a window slicked with mercury. But what I know you've never been told is that the measurement isn't ever based in the wind blowing around two targets in east and west opposites, that you made your myth with an endless adolescence, that you don't see the line you can slip behind, get deceived into thinking that you've already tripped and it's time to recover quick. No, you've still got several years to go, and the energy is waving and clear, and I may make up my mind about you this time. But neither I nor your godfather lied when we said it's not a trick. It's not from dreams, nor is it a passing secret. You should spread your fingers when you're told that it isn't magic. The world, life on this planet. Sometimes I get so distanced when I'm racing against myself, screaming from scene to scene, a stranger who's numb to the touch, see the back of his head in front of me. My life. I fear the enemy from the mist and the enemy within, the wealth of the ego that I might invoke at my most careless after I've abandoned rest. So I sit up all night and wait, concentrate, and consider the possibilities until the conversation between my stomach and spine is run silent and solid. Certain that I see consequence and evidence, give praise, feel my eyelids tick, and ask for forgiveness. And I must be honest, at the end of all of this, I have a laugh at the idea of spending my life in a prostrated stance of being endlessly apologetic, because I've seen too many people for whom hand-wringing humility is the height of arrogance, and to be joyless, to never wink or blush, is to give a convincing performance. Pacts, Paul. She had no idea who we were, but she waited anyway for us to gather by her side. The night my grandmother died, I waited for my family to leave the room. Then I opened her eyes to see if she'd give me any sign. She used to blink at me when she'd say something that wasn't right. We'd laugh across her line of sight. Now her pupils didn't meet mine. Her forehead ignored my fingers. Her jaw was tight. I walked the floor of my house until I forgot about time, with the blinds open studying the sky. I waited and wanted her ghost to arrive, but I heard someone murmur, "She has nothing left to show," and it made me realize that she dissipated into the air a long time ago. And even if it were possible, why would her spirit appear here? God, enough! My father looked right at me and said he was filled with fear that there was nothing. I said, "Don't be blank." And when I was where you were, I heard our relative's voice plainly tell me that I had a choice. Bright, white. I was slightly below myself, double exposed, the cold rag water. Without the reaching heat, I would have froze. It's ringing. It's ringing really loud. Last night, never forget. The future is just an abstract concept, and the here is gone before it is the now. Eventually it will stop, and you'll either face up or you will not. No one speaks in the summer. What makes you so afraid of snakes and lizards? They're all God's creatures. They're just crawling in the dust, wishing they could float above the grit, search out a little desert steak, relax, and enjoy the cool rocks against their scales and the splash of wind on their tails. No one speaks in the summer, but I'm never lonely or bored, because sometimes I'm my own sister or brother. Slip out the side waiting to materialize, and I'm passive when it rains, because I know it's been too humid and I can't change what I'm feeling, because I never know what I'm seeing. No matter how hard I try, I can't ever blink. Every hour, I can't measure what I take. I can't make myself faint. I'm a canvas, always shedding paint. 3 people in 3 days. No one speaks in the summer. But why was it now so cold? I didn't care what I was told, so I found myself singing along with songs a decade and a half old, and it could have been a lifetime ago. He showed up, playing a strident saxophone, and I said, "No, no, give me 2 silver clarinets and an oboe." We were open, we were able, If there was no crime, then we're not criminals. We're a field of echoes, growing for the Earth Angel. No one speaks in the summer, and all the secrets I've stolen I've kept to myself. The rain fell fast, in quick, loud bursts, then would vanish. He'd been distracted for hours. The longer he avoided sleep, the more he was annoyed and perplexed. This rain sounds fake. If it were a movie, it would be a lame special effect. He woke up the next morning, forced himself to go to work, called her when he got to his desk, said she had to see him, no excuse. She was the only one he could trust. He scared the hell out of her at lunch, speaking in breathless gulps, cold sweat coating his wet lips, swinging his arms to point at ghosts in the corner. But it was just the waiter wanting to refill the water. She tried desperately to change the subject and said she just read The Help, but he was an unchained dog. Back in the parking garage, she touched her for the first time and said, "Thanks for listening to me, but none of it was me. All of it belonged to someone else." She begged off, but before the end of the day wanted to make sure that he was still okay. He wrote back that everything was fine, thanks, and that he had a good time. No one speaks in the summer. You don't have interests. You're going to go shallow because you don't have any interests. No one speaks in the summer. Demi finished her last exam, the last of the semester, stopped by her mom's job to find out her new shift hours, said hi to her boyfriend, reminded him to pick her up from her parents' place later, in her glove compartment with the glass beads her mother had bought back in '72 when she went to the London School of Economics, as she was fond of pointing out just a few years after Mick Jagger. No one speaks in the summer. She was feeling incredibly lazy as she read an email from a guy she half remembered. He was always complimentary, but everything he said was out of order. She wrote back something quick and noncommittal with a minute mix of enthusiasm. That'll pacify him. She passed the afternoon playing with her cats. They rolled over and took a nap. Her boyfriend texted her that he'd be bringing dinner back. A certain psychological tendency. Jim was in the editing room. Not only had he not laughed in 2 weeks, he was now becoming contemptuous of his colleagues who smiled constantly, immediately embraced strangers, and acted as if life was a party piece designed solely for their amusement. Jim looked down at the floor. It was littered with random strips of celluloid, unhinged reels, and empty canisters. He never doubted the story he wanted to tell, but now his mind pulsed with endless ideas for framing devices, the rhythms of the third act, should there even be a third act, obfuscation techniques, rewriting, redubbing the dialogue, and where to place the music. In a fit of frustration, Jim had chosen a key moment in the film and with a safety pin carved across several frames, "I never had prose ambitions." He was careful not to write any of the letters backwards. He wanted this to be seen, even if it was only subliminally. He had been in this small white room seemingly forever. He wanted a sound night of sleep. He wanted a meal of more than bad Mexican food, McDonald's, or a hot dog from Pink's. But until all of this work was done, he knew that in good conscience he would never leave. I never had prose ambitions. I made the movie about a moth. It's called 50 Days, though part of me thinks that's quite obvious. The opening is about a group of people wandering the hills. All I wanted was to set the scene, to capture this wind-swept flamenco splotch orange pink autumnal opulence. The rest of the movie is close-ups of the moth and the flame, but the moth is in no way attracted to the flame. All the moth wants to do is study it, see if it melts vinyl, see if the burnt skin is final. And it ends with a small group chant a small prayer, and they go, "If I were to meditate only on my name, is when I would finally go insane." And they clap and ring bells and laugh, and a couple of the guys pretend to have sword fights with the candles. Listen. One gray dawn, as rain and mist pelted the cobblestone, I climbed the fence. I walked along the beach, and in disbelief, I finally got my wish. I was walking towards myself. Finally, my brother, even better, my twin. We walked for a moment, shared a laugh, corrected a few memories, but he was taller, slimmer fingers, whiter teeth, and he was left-handed. And I knew he wasn't me. So I started walking away and made up a melody, opened my mouth to sing. I was born to roam alone. Yes, it's all true. That's what happened when I was 16. You wear a crown of flowers in a field of trees in Southern California, singing in Spanish, running along the Valencia oranges. But I can see you're really an apple, in an eggshell frock with a laugh that could sail over a sequoia. Garden of paradise, sparrow flying in your mind, and the hand of the past is touching. You emerge from the bath filled with milk and lilac. Pale blue light is flowing. My whole life, I've been waiting. My whole life, I've been waiting, and I've been writing songs without music. And there's no mystery without a clue, except it's all true, and you could sing along if you hear the tunes. And the time that I am breathing, we are looking for new life in the big world. Spent a mile with an open mouth, looking at the lantern for a route. Everything's in and everything's out. And we were looking for new life in the big world. The fruit got spoiled when it was protected, but the seeds got resurrected. The wheel turned around and we had electric spasms. We walked in and we walked out, looking for new life in the big world. We gathered round the piano and listened to the sound of the notes soar and the chords pound, and we laughed and cried and sang at the sun and everyone. We were looking for new life in the big world. We remembered the formations, but traveled through the stations, sometimes for excavation, but mostly we were looking for new life in the big world. This is called The Needles. The dock 70 feet in back of me as the sun rotated into the cloudless mid-sky. I saw, "You should keep my letter so that it serves as a reminder," carved into its 16-foot-long block of pink limestone. In front of me was a sea of black hair and white fabric. A man in iguana-colored boots was a private parade, and the air was damp and smelled like salty sediment. A sandpiper coughed into my ear. In prior decades, this would have been a confined testing environment, stacked with medical supplies and sterilized instruments, while bleached cotton strips turned the skin around my nails lighter. Pried out of the wilderness of incestuous dreams, ripped posters, and unreliable oral histories. Deer curled up in sandy, shallow puddles. Trails of red ants eating holes through discarded cabbage. Soft green eyes, undress uniforms before entrance into a Methodist church with baby blue walls and royal blue sacristy doors. Reptile eggs eaten by a small group of women who then wash their hands in citrus-saturated water and wrap their fingers with copper wire. And a monument at dusk, surrounded by silence, outlined with jagged stones and chipped jewelry. Fox hunters riding by, with a new hound who they yell at and threaten to whip as each of its tentative selections are rejected. The Lord Mayor's houses built to buttress against resistant forces, all amid a slow, swollen syrup that pools and then runs downhill to the man-made lake. Unobstructed view and pristine wings, piercing siren as though it was a current or a call to worship. A chalice filled with tarantulas, a flagpole wavering in its stand, chickens' eyes rolling sideways as they travel at unnatural speeds for the very first time. Cigarette smoke blown into a bowl of strawberries, fingerprints left in wet paint, fresh milk pumped from each breast. My friend who can foresee pregnancy and electricity through a wall has their moods move like montages in a film. My friend without terminology, whose nature is a catapult, who can walk through a maze without a fever. My friend who finds destiny dancing on purple and pink nights with dirt around their ankles. From the upper window, I witnessed a slow splintering of demonic demonstrations. In my right hand were coins melted together. On my feet were shoes of another, as I checked the tags on my clothes to learn my identity. Through the upper window across 7 streets into the parking lot where disused missiles decompose, diagonal gold and gray roads sprayed clean of tar and debris. Low-flying planes obscure the upper window, where a virginity pageant marches from the shower and concludes with forearms rested on the top rung of a ladder. Breathless dizziness, reading large handmade maps, desperate for hydrogen, dull bulbs, and shovels. Eyes closed for hours. All deaths are a cataclysm. Rinse the plaque from your mouth. Cut long muslin swaths and give them away. Bring out your dead! All deaths are a cataclysm. Rinse the cement. Don't try to trace ghosts. Bring out your dead! All deaths are a cataclysm, and what stands are bloody trees deciphering the wordless moans. The invisible dust falling on a table in the woods, swept away in haste. The invisible dust falling on a chain-link fence at the border, wafted away before it rusts. The invisible threads woven around nurses' legs, while administering instructions to infants. The invisible threads coursing through fibrous recall. Innocence is wasted on the inexperienced. Each speck is an unnoticed city, an English symmetrical opening. Each strand is a bird on the river in a King's Indian defense. Wax seal stamps poured onto a clock while its mechanism starts surging. Go into the unpaved adjacent highways and remember. Remember for the benefit of whom? The sermon restated to sleeping citizens weary from work. Remember for the benefit of whom? A lion in a tent gnashing the last of its dinner. Remember for the benefit of whom? A slouching passive general inept at telling a catalog from blueprints. Protective exoskeleton. Exclusive phone booth opposite the swimming pool in a home in Beverly Hills constructed in the late 40s. Watery exoskeleton. Fluttering drama as the mounted trophies change colors when passing trains sound their whistles. Sensory exoskeleton in parks of dewy, gently curved hills designed by anxious architects to absorb all tastes and scents. No one reaction or army of thought, no weaning or well-meaning practice can smudge or even expunge the unadorned evidence in the immeasurable elements. And now a grasp toward a cataract of menstruation stored in a triptych of cases. Tender veils lift lightly in the breeze, briefly betraying the horse's forward focus. Confirmed miracles in the dial tones droning from underneath the unexplored aisles. A cherry, a maiden, a cup. And I lay down for now, hope for the parcels I sent arrive on time. This is called Blue Soaked Scepter.